On our program today, we're focusing on a subject that truly lies at the heart of everything we do in the cleaning and facility services industry: health. From heart health awareness to the critical importance of mental well being, especially in our demanding industry, and recognizing National Nurses Week and the deep partnership between nurses and environmental services professionals. This episode is about celebrating the people and practices that keep our communities healthy and safe. Joining me today is Laurie Sewell, the president of ISSA and a powerful advocate for health in all its dimensions. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you for having me.
Laurie, you're also with Cervicon, as I can see in the background there. How are
Yes,
things,
I
how
am.
are things at work?
Things are going well at work, actually. Thank you very much. Speaking of health, we're actually doing a lot with healthcare facilities of late. So it's kind of a good commingling for us here to talk about this today.
Absolutely, and an important work that you do. So thank you for that. I know you wear two big hats right now as president of ISSA and running Cervicon, but I know we have three things to talk about today. So let's get into it if you're ready. Um,
Sure.
One is heart health, and I think there's something called Go Red with Women, and you're involved in this campaign. Tell us about that. Tell us about your personal connection to heart health and why this issue is so meaningful to you.
Go Red for Women is part of the American Heart Association, and it's primarily focused on increasing research and awareness specific to women's heart health. Heart attacks I believe it's the number one killer of women. But a lot of the research in the past has been almost solely done on men, and women actually, present differently. Their symptoms are different, and there's just not a lot of awareness around it. I've had heart ablation myself for PVCs. My father had a significant amount of heart issues through his years, and so it's really near and dear to me. And I'm really excited about getting more people to understand heart health, particularly how it impacts women.
I did not know that they focused on men like that and not women. I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Well, even 80% of the animals that they do trials with are male animals. I mean, it's just crazy.
No, and for those watching, that's something to spotlight and to think about. So thank you for mentioning that. Heart disease, number one killer, terrible thing. We all want to be healthy. It's called a silent killer. People suffer. They pass away. They don't know what's coming. I've had friends go through that, but especially for women, let's talk about that. How can leaders in our industry, especially women in our industry, take steps to prioritize their cardiovascular health?
I think we have to start by leading by example, talking about it, showing people. We actually do a Heart Health Month with our team, where we're sharing information, signs of stroke, and just education in general about heart health. They've shown it as women, we often push through the symptoms or we put ourselves last. There's numerous stories about women who know something's wrong, and they pack up the kids' lunches, get them to school, and then they drive themselves to the ER. I mean, and that's not an unusual story, right? And so I think sometimes we think prioritizing our health or ourselves is selfish, but it's really what it allows us to lead well and care for others. And so I think it's really important to get that message that, particularly as women, we are often caretakers in a lot of our roles, and particularly at home. We have to recognize, in order for us to be our best and to bring our best, we have to actually take care of ourselves and listen. So when I heard that extra boom boom in my my heart at night, I'm like, this isn't right. Something's not right, and get
Do
it
not
checked
take
out.
the kids to school. Go straight to the
Right.
doctor
Go
or the
straight.
hospital.
Yes, yes, yes. Do not pass go.
Hmm.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you took care of yourself.
Mm.
So you're CEO of Cervicon,
Yes, I am.
you're a business leader. Other companies out there, if you had a conversation with them, what advice would you give them to help them promote heart health awareness with their own teams, their own people?
So I think make it visible, make it doable. I mean, February is a great month. There's a lot of heart walks. Maybe, join a group, bring a group of your team together to go out and do a walk. Encourage them to, wear red and bring awareness to, what's happening that month. I think it's also about talking about health. One of the things that, I've made a point of and we've made a point of in our town halls and with our teams is to, talk about health in general, mental health, heart health, we, talk about how to utilize their insurance plan, how to be preventative in their health. So just wrapping it all into that category of healthful conversations and the focus on health is really important. And it's not just about it's good for you want healthy workers. I mean, we just want them to be healthy family members, healthy members of society, healthy workers. It's just the total package.
Absolutely. Okay, we talked about heart health, physical. Let's talk about mental health awareness because that's important to you as well. The cleaning
Yes.
industry demands physical stamina. It's a physical job. Mental
hmm
health may not get the same attention. What should we be doing to better support mental wellness across our workforce? Can you talk about that?
I mean, our world is just it's getting more and more stressful. The incidents, particularly with youth on with mental health issues or disorders, is climbing. And so we have a workforce that has often viewed behavioral health work or getting help from behavioral health professionals might be stigmatized. And so I think the first thing for us to do is just talk about as it's not an issue that should be put under the carpet or people should be shamed. There should be no shame around it. We our founder's wife was a psychotherapist, and her daughter, who's also one of our owners, is also a psychotherapist. And so she sometimes does mental health, particularly during COVID, additions, or sends out when the fires came, where can we get mental health resources? So just being there to encourage your teams. We also recommend like our EAP program allows I think it's like 8 free mental health programs for anyone who lives in the family. So anybody that lives in that household can get that. And so we're constantly training our supervisors when they're seeing something that doesn't seem right or they're sensing something to like really encourage and remind the people of this opportunity that they have, this benefit that they have. It's interesting. We had a cleaner who's had her sister died suddenly, and she was back on the job pretty quickly. And I remember her manager asking her, are you okay? Or do you want to be on this? Is this really where you should be? And she says, believe it or not, cleaning is a decompression for me to mentally decompress and not feel stressed. It's almost mindfulness to her. And so if we can talk about cleaning as a mindfulness activity as well, where you can just engage in the work and really dig into the work in a way that allows you to have some solace and some comfort is another thing that we were surprised to hear. And I've been kind of floating this idea with other people in the industry, and there seems to be something interesting around cleaning as a bit of a meditative practice, particularly when you're doing kind of the repetitive acts.
That makes sense. I know I enjoy cleaning. I'm the person who takes care of the floors in my our home, but
hmm
it is a way to maybe clear your mind and just do a
Yeah,
task. Yeah, I could
yeah,
see that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, ISSA initiatives or resources, are there any that you can talk about that supports what we're discussing here, the emotional well-being of those in the industry?
I think anything that creates community or mentorship or peer support goes a long way for emotional well-being. So I immediately think of Hygeia as that opportunity where there's mentoring and support. Even training programs where you're with other people in the industry, you're training the trainer, you're having an opportunity to um, learn more about leadership also allows us to learn the human side of management, which also helps to create, mentally healthful workplaces. It's funny when I talk to my team about the leadership program that we do. One of the things that they're surprised they'll come to me and they'll say, I didn't realize this would actually help me at home. This would help me in talking to, my children or my spouse or my siblings, in a different way because these management skills are communication skills are just universal.
Lori, people may not want to talk about this at all, this mental health issue. So, again, back to leadership. What role does leadership play in destigmatizing mental health conversations, like at work? Someone needs to talk, others are like, you shouldn't talk about it. What do you think about
Mm.
that?
Mm. That's hard because I mean some people just don't want to, and that's okay. You have to respect people's boundaries. But I think if you lead with talking about maybe your experience or an experience of someone in your family that is appropriate and not overly TMI, if you will, in a way that just says we found help, or if somebody's talking about their child, they have school therapists in the school. Have you talked to somebody there, or to just be able to offer up that as an option to consider, and something that maybe you have done in the past or somebody have done in the past where it was helpful. So I think you have to be delicate around sharing, but I think making a space for conversations is really what our responsibility should be.
That sounds like empathy, which is always a
Oh,
good thing to
yeah.
have as a quality. All right, let's pivot to our third point, National Nurses Week. Now, as we tape this right now, it's National Nurses Week, and we know how closely EVS professionals and nurses work together. They're in the same space. How would you describe that relationship? Expand on that a bit for us.
I think it's a powerful partnership. Nurses and EVS professionals, you said they work in the same space, they're on the same team. They both play vital roles in the health of a patient and the healing of a patient in their care. While they provide treatment, we prevent infection, right? And so like we have to work together, right? And so they need treatment and they need to be able to heal in a place that does not allow them or have hospital acquired infection, expose them to hospital acquired infection. So together we're working towards the ultimate goal of the patient healing and healing quickly. I think we have to have mutual trust and respect. I think there are sometimes things that we can help them with outside of maybe the regular, but the things that aren't necessarily clinical to allow them to focus in on their treatment when they're understaffed, which is becoming an enormous issue since COVID, with a lot of people leaving the healthcare profession. So I think there's more ways, and I've found my team's doing that with other clients and in talking about how can we pick up some of that work to allow things to be, allow the nursing staff to do what they do as well. And I love it. I mean, usually when we go out and we see nursing staff, they're like, "We love EVS. They're great." I mean, they really understand our role. I think really probably more than many of the other people that work and operate in a hospital. I think nursing really appreciates and understand how we're just so interconnected.
Yes, I agree. What would you say to an environmental services team about the role that they play in supporting healthcare heroes behind the scenes?
So I would say you're not just supporting heroes, you are heroes. So I would say that first. I think hospitals can't function without you. They just can't. And even though they're not front and center, they are part of the care team. And what they do really does impact healing and the safety of the patients. And I think they they are getting to understand that. I'm really excited because one of the things that we're doing during EVS week, the nurses typically, recognize our team as well. And so the EVS providers we're doing notes, thank you notes to the nurses, having some lunches with them, different types of things to say thank you to them, because this is really just it's just a symbiotic, I guess would be the best word, partnership to achieve the best outcome for the patients.
Last question on this point. You've touched on it a bit, but speak to ISSA members and anyone watching, other companies. How can they use National Nurses Week to show appreciation, not just for nurses, but for the whole care team, including the cleaning staff?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are in the industry are optimizing social media now. So, giving them a front and center presence, thanking them on our various platforms is one way. That in person, the thank you notes, the lunches, like I said before. I think just sometimes small actions, even just a few words of recognition go a long way, because it is not easy working in a healthcare environment, and it's gotten more complicated since COVID, and it's getting more and more complicated as, they're facing a lot of financial issues with, maybe funding being cut or whatnot. So I think just letting them know that you see them and that you appreciate them, and not just you appreciate the work that they do in the clinical setting, but you appreciate them as a partner in the clinical setting and that you view them as such.
As we wrap up, in your view, talk about this. How does health tie everything together in the industry? Whether we're talking about physical health, we talked about heart health, mental health, or community health. Can you close with a thought on that?
Well, it kind of connects everything that we do. I mean, it unifies the physical, the emotional, our community. In fact, one of the things I really enjoy about the healthcare industry is that when they talk about their mission, they always talk about community, not just, the patient. They talk about the communities they serve. And so I think about we're all part of this community. And so, we clean to protect physical health. We lead in ways that support mental and emotional health. And just continuing to build a supportive workplace in the communities that we work in, I think will allow us to, further the health of all of us. So I think it's focus on it, talk about it, provide ideas and resources for people. I think knowledge is so much a part of this. And then providing them access to, where can they go? What should they, when they understand that something's not right. And then encouraging people to, kind of put themselves first. So, I think about in general, our industry isn't about just cleaning. It's really about elevating people, and it's really about, healthy environments. And so when we were back in DC talking to some of the folks there, and one of the questions, they asked a question, and, one of the responses was, our industry is all about health. That is what we're about. Obviously appearance is important, but the ultimate goal of what we do is to improve the health of the people that are in the places that we clean, and the health of the people that work with it and the communities we're in. So I can't see how it isn't inextricably tied.